Welcome to the 2025 Chevrolet Equinox. Things are completely refreshed. We have a brand new design inside and out with new features, and we're going to take a look at all the exterior details, the interior details, and get it out on the road for a test drive and take a look at everything at night. So right away, starting up front, first of all, let's talk about the trim levels. We have the base LT, the RS, and the Active are the next couple trims, depending on what your style is. We have the RS right here. And honestly, I think the base LT is a pretty good value in this range. We'll talk about that a little bit more and all the trim level features in just a sec. You've got the RS badging right here. The RS is kind of like the sporty bunch of all of them. We've got this black grille. It looks nice. There's shutters on the grille, standard for every single model. We've got this split headlight design. You've got the LED signal up there, the running light. Then the headlight is down here and the fog light is down there. LED headlights are standard on this on this Equinox through every trim. Now this color on this one is the Radiant Red tint coat. I think it looks nice. Chevy does a nice job with their red paints on here. It looks a little bit deeper or a little bit more bright tonight on the camera than it does in person, but overall I think it looks good. It also ranges between 17 and 20-inch wheels. We have 19-inch wheels here on this RS model. One more thing to note, surprisingly, we don't have a turn signal on the mirror on this top RS trim level, $40,000, but the mirrors are going to be heated as standard on every single model, and the top couple trims come standard with a heated windshield wiper bay. So those of you in cold climates, that's fantastic. Now, as we take a look dimensionally, it's 183 inches long, so it's about the same as it was last year, even though this is a redesigned, refreshed model, new looks, new body, but it's still about the same size, so still fits right in this compact class with all the rest of its competitors. We've even got LED taillights as standard on every single trim back here as well. And what do you think of the overall design? I think it looks much better than it did before. It's kind of like a new scaled down Chevy Traverse. Now, check this out. As we get to the cargo area, Chevrolet has this feature called the AutoSense power tailgate. The top couple trims come standard with this. The LT is a manual lifting tailgate, but this is optional, so it's hands-free. You don't have to swipe your foot or your hand. You just basically be back here for a few seconds. It'll beep. You can turn that feature off or on, then it will open up. Now, one thing about Chevy is that this cargo space, it's not bad, but it's certainly not as good as it is on some competitors. The nice thing is that look at these lights. So if you do things at night, you know, it's getting dark, it's wintertime, it's really well lit back here, which is fantastic. You've got a couple of tie downs back here as well, fixed tie downs. There's just not really a great like grocery bag hook type of thing. So that's one complaint. Down here, you've got some extra room to store some stuff. That's nice. And all models actually come standard with a spare tire, which is fantastic. Spare tire is under there. So you still get a spare tire and some extra space. So even though the cargo space maybe isn't as great behind the second row, you have this extra hidden area. So can't really complain that much about that. To fold the seats down, you just got to push this lever back here. There's no hands-free option, but this does fold pretty darn flat. It's fairly smooth overall, and it's got some good length and height, you know, relative to the overall size of the vehicle. And you definitely get more competitive cargo space numbers with the seats folded than you do just behind the second row. Now, Chevrolet's newer key fobs are definitely better. They don't have that rubber liner on them that wears down like crazy over time. But it honestly feels pretty good. You've got some little trim on here. It feels relatively solid. You've got the smart key system standard. You can open up your tailgate if you have the power tailgate. And we even have remote start on here. So I'm glad to see that from Chevrolet. This doesn't have the sensor in here like you get on some models. It is all controlled with the push button to lock or unlock it. But one thing that I do like is that you can program this to where it will automatically lock if you walk away from the vehicle. So you can make it do that whether you want it to or not. It's just a nice little hands-free feature if you want it to do that. It just locked right there. Go ahead and unlock it. And as we take a look at these front seats, so the base model is going to give you cloth seats that are manual adjustable, but this one has synthetic. It's called Evotex. You can option up on the LT to get this as well as power adjustments like the two-way lumbar support right here, height, tilt, and recline. The upper trims will also give you a power adjustable passenger seat instead of manual adjustable. The bolstering in here is pretty good. I've actually been pretty comfortable in these seats. I've been a little hard on Chevrolet for their seats being flat and kind of lifeless lately, but I think these are pretty good. The seat cushion's not bad. The bolstering right here is good, and the synthetic isn't my favorite. It still feels nice, and you've got little cloth trim. But one really cool thing, check it out. We've got a leather steering wheel, and standard on all models, if I'm seeing this right, a heated steering wheel is standard on every model, and so are heated seats. One thing that is optional is the ability to get memory settings. So you can get memory settings for this driver door, which is nice. The steering wheel is still manual, tilt, and telescoping. So your seat controls are power adjustable, just like your mirrors. And ventilated seats, they're not standard on any trim, but on the top couple of trims, they are optional. And we have them in this model, which is one reason why the price is $40,000. Now let's take a look at the back seat right here. So on the door, you actually get a soft material right here. That is nice. You know, it's not super cheap like it is in some vehicles. Little cup holder down there, and there's actually pretty good space overall, all things considered. You still get the same seat trim with these little inserts and this synthetic material, but look at this cargo, or not cargo floor, look at this floor space, the foot space. It's completely flat, and there's good space. Right in front of us, we actually have heated seats. These are optional. It's not standard on here, but you can option up and get those. So you got heated outboard seats. We get our own air conditioning vents. There's also a couple of USB-C charging ports down there, map pockets, and then in here, all models are gonna come with this armrest here as well, and decent sized cup holders. They're about the same size as they are up front, with some little rubber grips in there too. So that's pretty cool. Overall legroom, I'm 5'9", sitting behind myself. There's a pretty good amount of leg space in here. So cargo space is good, not quite as good behind the second row as some competitors, but this legroom is definitely up there and very comfortable overall. The seat's not super low to where your legs feel high. It's actually relatively comfortable. And I can sit up tall, plenty of room above my head, good space in this Equinox. Now, as we hop inside, we've got push button start right there. Go ahead and start it up. And these two screens right here are standard, two big screens from Chevrolet. Now over on the door, like the back seat, you've got a whole entire panel of nice soft touch material right there. So this is plastic, but it's actually got a softer texture to it, which is interesting. This whole door panel and armrest are nice and soft. And then not all of the windows are automatic one touch. Only the driver is both up and down automatic one touch. So a little bit interesting. You've got decent space right there, but it's still pretty skinny. My big, large bottle Stanley type mug doesn't work in there, but most vehicles it doesn't. So you've got a parking brake, electronic parking brake over there. You actually push this to turn on your all-wheel drive. And when you do that, I'll show you, it shows up right there. So otherwise it will just be in two-wheel drive, aka front-wheel drive, or you can activate all-wheel drive. It's interesting that Chevy gives you that option to do that. You have auto hold, so brake hold button is standard right there, and the auto stop start can be turned off. Here's your interior brightness, which basically controls, close the door here, it basically controls the entire display across the board, the main screen as well as the instrument cluster. So it's a little bit interesting. Takes some getting used to get it just right. Steering wheel controls, cruise control and distance control over here. You got your voice and heated steering wheel controls. On this side, you can control your information display up there. So check this out. If I push the button on the steering wheel, you can cycle, let me get this out of the way. You can cycle between different screens and information. So you can see your driver assist features on there. You can keep going, have a more simplified screen. You can have your trip computer information over here, and 26 mpg is what I have averaged on this trip. So I've had this vehicle for about 500 miles and I've gotten 26 mpg, mostly highway, so not great at all, but that's the way it is. To shift, you use this little lever. This is kind of like Mercedes. And over here, rain sensing wipers are an option, and we have them on this particular model. You might notice you haven't seen any headlight controls. That's because you have to go into the screen to do that. So you've got a shortcut. You can hit that, turn them off, go into auto, turn them on, parking lights. I don't love having to go into the screen to do that. It's really kind of annoying because I actually do turn my lights off sometimes, or if you need to adjust, like even go to your fog lights, turn your fog lights off or on, you have to go into here. It's a little bit weird. Even to turn on all of the dome lights, you don't have just like one button over there up overhead to turn on all of the lights. You have to go into your screen. Chevrolet, I wish you would give us some controls back for that. I know so many vehicles still have physical controls, but we're drifting away from that. But I would like to see some regular controls. Now, that's an 11-inch screen. This is a little over 11 inches over here, and you get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard on here. So it's pretty nice. You also have Google, like actual Google, built into this as well, like we've seen on some other GM products. So you've literally got like Google Maps built in if you don't want to use Apple CarPlay, Google Voice as well. Hit this button to go to some more controls. You can go to the non-Apple CarPlay home screen. You got Amazon Alexa. We have Wi-Fi on here as well. There's really quite a bit you can do and just explore around in here, and it's a pretty nice infotainment. For the most part, I still mainly use Apple CarPlay. We also have a camera. So optional is a 360 camera. It's their HD surround vision. It's really pretty nice because you can actually see clearly next to different wheels. You can change the view. It's pretty cool. I really like it. It's easy to park with this. You've got a top-down view just like that. Can't really complain about it at all. One other thing I want to mention is that our RS model actually gives us kind of a mild flat bottom steering wheel. So it is a sporty model, gives you a flat bottom wheel, some red stitching in here, which is kind of neat. Something I thought I would mention. Now, to turn the lights on, you can turn one individual light on up here like that, but I want to show you more, so I have to go into the screen to turn on the dome lights, like all together. And it's honestly pretty darn dim in here. Right below the screen, we've got dual zone automatic climate control. I like this layout. You've got everything you need, very simple. Two big knobs to control your temperature, your ventilated seat button, heated seat button, auto climate button right there, fan speed. You've got everything you need. You don't have to dig in a screen for that, which is great. This is a rubber mat, so I can put something like keys that would easily rattle in a lot of vehicles, and they don't rattle, they don't slide. Sunglasses can go there, and you've got two USB charging ports down there as well, which is nice. Another cool thing is that we have a wireless charger here. So let me show you. Go ahead and drop my phone in right there. It will wirelessly charge. It's out of sight, out of mind. General Motors has done a great job of making a phone location practical while also keeping it hopefully out of people's hands. Now, cup holders back here, we've got pretty good sized cup holders overall. Usually the GM products that I've seen lately have small cup holders, but these accommodate most drinks, including fat bottom mugs like this. They have little rubber pieces inside for some smaller drinks. You have another storage bin here, but this one's all plastic. This is your drive mode control, and let me show you. You've got off-road mode, you've got snow and ice mode, normal mode, and then you cycle back. It's not a sport mode in here, which is interesting, but we'll talk about that in the test drive. The armrest is actually nice and soft, or nice, and it's a nice material. It's not really padded that much, but let's go ahead and lift it up. There's no light inside. You've got a semi-deep bin, a little bin right there, so it's not too bad. But then underneath of this whole center console, let me show you real quick, you've actually got another shelf. So there's a split little shelf down there where you can put more stuff and kind of keep it out of the way, and it's just extra storage, which is nice. Over here with the glove box, pretty standard size right there. And as far as the material in here, you've got some semi-soft material in here like plastic. But one thing I want to talk about with material is we have had a rattle coming from back there somewhere. Can't really tell where it is. We'll talk about that in the test drive. And then the other thing is that we have this dual pane roof. So this front portion opens up and that slider goes all the way back. So you've got a large panoramic style roof in here, which is pretty sweet. You've got sunglass holders, LED interior lighting, and an option is to have this garage or this rear view mirror camera. Plus we also get garage controls on the upper trims. I believe those are optional on the base trim as well. So you're pretty well set. The visors slide out completely like that. So that is also pretty nice. One thing that we don't have at this price point and at a top trim like this is, go ahead and shut this off, we don't really have any ambient lighting. I think it could do with some nice ambient lighting in here, but we don't want to step on Cadillac's toes. But what do you think of the interior overall? Definitely a nice step up, pretty nice place to be. Now, under the hood here for this Equinox, things are still very similar to what it was last year overall. You get their Ecotec 1.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. It gets 175 horsepower, which is not great, but you get just over 200 pound-feet of torque, which really does give this a nice bump. For those of you that are wanting to stick with gas, there is an electric Equinox. Right now, there's no hybrid option, and it is only a turbo 4-cylinder. So this is your only option. Gone are the days of the V6 or gone are the days of a naturally aspirated engine. This is all you get, and it's not actually all that efficient. The all-wheel drive model actually gets better highway MPG of just 29 than the front-wheel drive model, which is kind of weird. So efficiency is less than competitors. Like for example, 29 on the highway with all-wheel drive here and less than 200 horsepower, whereas like the RAV4 or the CR-V, two top-selling models, get significantly more efficiency and more horsepower too. So it's just kind of a trade-off. All right, y'all, we are now behind the wheel of this 2025 Chevrolet Equinox. So this still carries over a 1.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder. Kind of disappointing. Nothing special, nothing fun about it. And even though it's a small turbo 4-cylinder, it's still not that efficient. However, even though it is small and it's only got 175 horsepower, the torque is actually not bad. So just over 200 pound-feet of torque gives you a really nice little push of power and torque right away when you put the pedal down, which can make a big difference when you're driving through town. Now, partial pedals, so go ahead and get a little pressure down here. It's very quick to put the power out. This is just partial pedal, so you don't really have to get on it a whole lot because it gets going and scoots pretty effortlessly. But once you go to pass somebody and you really get on it, that's when you can tell the difference between this and some competitors or, you know, some other more powerful models, that it just does not have as much power as some of you might want. Just something to keep in mind. Now, right up front, this does have adaptive cruise control and the lane keeping technology. It's got the automatic emergency braking, so it's got a lot of the standard safety features right off the bat. We also have blind spot monitoring built into those mirrors as well. As you saw, you've got the 360 camera on there too, so Chevy gives you quite a bit. And even this digital rearview mirror right there, which is nice. Overall driving impressions, I would say that the ride comfort is so-so. It's not quite as smooth and comfortable over bumps as some of the competitors. I was recently in a CR-V and I think that was a little more compliant. But that's, you know, these vehicles, they're not really gonna be on the sporty edge or the comfort edge. They're just okay. They're just passable. Now, partial pedal here. It's okay. The engine does get a little raspy as we get going. I have not driven the front-wheel drive exclusive model with the CVT transmission. Thankfully, this one with all-wheel drive gives us the 8-speed. But let me go ahead and get pedal down. Floored. Okay, and going from about 30 to 60, not too bad. If you want more power, obviously you're gonna have to go to a different vehicle because the Chevy doesn't have the 2-liter turbo anymore. You don't have the V6 anymore. So it's one thing about the Equinox is that may be a deal breaker for you. On the other hand, one thing I've always liked about Chevy is the way that they steer and handle. I think that Chevy does a nice job of really putting a good weight to the steering wheel. It's not too heavy, it's not too light. It's got a decent feeling of directness to it for a vehicle in this category, and comparing it to some competitors. I wouldn't say it's engaging to drive, especially considering this engine, but it's not bad. On a day-to-day, I think a lot of you are going to be comfortable in here and feel right at home, especially if you're coming from other Chevrolet models. It's a nice step up on this interior, I've got to say. The exterior looks much better as well, in my opinion. I just wish that this was more efficient, considering its lack of, you know, power and refinement with the powertrain and not having other options, really. So if that's a deal breaker, the efficiency, then that's that. But overall, the rest of this vehicle, really, Chevy really did a nice job. I'm pretty impressed with it as far as that goes. The LT, the base model, even gives you a pretty good amount of standard features for the most part. You've got a price check and compare everything with other base models of other types of compact crossovers like this. But I think if I was going to get an Equinox, I would go for that LT, honestly. Now, you might be able to hear it right now. First of all, there's a fair amount of road noise that gets in here, but there's also a rattle back there, and I have not figured out what it is. I had someone ride with me, they couldn't tell what it is, but there's only 1,900 miles on this thing, and we've got a rattle, so that's a little disappointing. But keep in mind, this is it could be pre-production. Some of these brand new models are, you know, you'd have to test drive one for yourself. But to close things out, I hope y'all enjoyed the test drive, enjoyed the video. I think that base LT model is a good value overall. Chevrolet gives you quite a few standard features, really, when you think about it. And it's just a well-rounded crossover that doesn't really shine in one particular area. I don't know if it's enough to really steal Toyota or Honda buyers, or even some Mazda buyers, even with the driving dynamics of that. But if you are used to vehicles like this and other Chevys, I think you will love what Chevy has done with this new model. But thank you so much for checking it out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.